Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and every week we bring you the stories of people around the world who are making life better for others. We're part of Rotary International, over 1.2 million people in 36,000 clubs all over the planet dedicated to the idea of service above self. That joy and meaning that comes from serving others happens all sorts of ways in Rotary. In clubs, they do projects in their local towns. They band together with folks from around the world to do large-scale projects. There are all kinds of things that happen to improve communities as a result of how we do Rotary. Now, our particular Rotary Club, the Rotary E Club of Silicon Valley, is one that is online, obviously, but also asynchronous. So our members are able to attend the meeting, a gathered content that's available to them all the way through the week, anytime between Monday morning and Sunday night. And we think that flexibility is great for people who are crazy busy, but have a heart for service to others. Speaking of having a heart for service to others, we have a speaker today who's talking to us about an organization that seeks to foster that in youth through all sorts of innovative ways, and we are excited to share their story. So Anna Gomberg, welcome to to the Rotary Club of Silicon Valley, and tell us about Solar Solutionaries. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you all for having me today. I'm very excited to present the story of my organization, We Share Solar, to members of the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. My name is Anna Gomberg. I'm the Senior Program Manager for Solar Education, previously a high school science teacher in Oakland, California, where I taught chemistry and environmental science and got into solar education kind of on the side, and that's my full-time job. We Share Solar equips teachers to educate and inspire the next generation of solar solutionaries. We do this by providing teacher training, hands-on equipment, and a curriculum that has been built and rebuilt many times by teachers for teachers over the last 12 years. Teachers then take their training and equipment back to their schools, where they incorporate hands-on solar into their STEM classes. Students learn the basics of simple solar systems and use these systems to explore electrical concepts of voltage, current, power, and energy. We also try really hard to support and encourage teachers to engage locally wherever possible with solar projects and professionals in their communities. And they also engage globally through program sponsorship of global solar deployments in schools and in medical clinics. This is a really unique program, and today I'm going to take some time to let you know how it all began. Our story begins with Dr. Laura Stachel, an OBGYN who left her medical practice to pursue PhD research in global maternal mortality. Why were mothers and babies dying at high rates in certain places in the world? Here she is consulting with a doctor in a maternity ward. This is the Kofan Gayan Hospital in northern Nigeria. At the time, it was one of the global epicenters of maternal death, and Laura wanted to find out why. Her first night there gave her answers. This was the only light, it's a kerosene lantern, the only source of energy in the hospital. What you can't see in this picture are the 12 women in active labor around this nurse when this photo was taken. On her return to Berkeley, where she lived, Laura told her husband, Dr. Hal Aronson, about the lack of energy access. Hal, luckily, is a solar innovator and educator, and he immediately committed to getting a large solar array on the hospital's rooftop. But that would take about 6 months of planning, and Laura asked him to make a small working exhibit of a stand-alone solar electric system for her to return with on her next trip to her research site. Something easy to hand carry through customs. She wanted to demonstrate how solar works for the hospital staff and exhibit what would be coming in large scale in about 6 months. The frontline healthcare workers loved the solar suitcase and asked her to leave that small system, saying they could actually put it to use in their operating and delivery room that very night and every night if they charged the battery with solar during the day. And so she did leave it behind. When she returned the next month, there was a line of midwives and healthcare workers from all over the region, waiting for the solar doctor to see if they too could get a solar suitcase. Word had gotten out that many more women were surviving childbirth at the hospital because the medical staff had light and could handle middle of the night deliveries, and especially emergencies. What Laura had discovered was a global problem, the loss of life due to the lack of energy access. And what she and Hal also discovered was that the first 100 watts of electricity, although small, are actually the most powerful because it takes you from complete darkness to seeing what's around you, from a sense of a lack of control to control. And so Laura began to take as many solar suitcases as she possibly could on every trip over to Nigeria. To keep up with the demand, they reached out to local STEM teachers and professors and their students in Berkeley for help in building these systems. Here is a high school student, Jessie Del Bono, with the original chassis. This arrangement went on for well over a year. But in time, the solar suitcase was engineered. This is our current yellow solar suitcase for medical purposes, and mass produced. And our parent organization, We Care Solar, was established. But our story doesn't end there. This is where it really begins. While installing a solar suitcase on this clinic in Bugari, Uganda, a pastor, Bernard Monday, walked down the road you can see in the picture and called out to Hal and the team on the roof, saying, "I've walked miles to come here from the New Hope orphanage. I have 800 children living there with no electricity. We must crowd classrooms during the daylight hours to teach everyone before dark. We cannot study enough to pass the national exams, and it's not safe. Just last night, a 4-year-old girl was bitten by a poisonous snake on the way to the outhouse and is currently fighting for her life. Can we get solar suitcases too?" So back to Jessie here, because this request came amidst inquiries back in the States from the many teachers and students who had helped us in the beginning. Teachers told us this was one of the most engaging and exciting projects, where their students learned how solar electricity worked and developed an awareness of real-world need and impact. And we pondered, could we equip STEM teachers to educate and inspire the next generation of solar solutionaries with real-world impact? We knew that the Solar Suitcase was a fantastic learning platform and that the solutionary story, the story of Laura and Hal's social entrepreneurship, was exciting and important to tell. And although nascent, solar as a clean energy solution was gaining traction here at home. We felt teachers would embrace the simplicity and promise of solar STEM education. So we went to work building and designing our foundational learn, build, share model with an exciting Solar Suitcase Learning Kit. And of course, a close cousin of that, the Solar Suitcase for Deployment. You should know that our first deployments went to Pastor Monday and the New Hope Orphanage. We lit the entire campus, and Pastor Monday sent an email and a photo of the girls playing outside at night with the words, "Alleluia, the girls are free." Well, that was about 12 years ago. Nationally, through the work of hundreds of trained teachers, there have been 982 programs reaching nearly 59,000 students and counting. Globally, deployed solar suitcases in education have provided 12 million hours of light and charging capacity to over 517,000 teachers and students. And in healthcare, we have lit 8,400 health facilities serving 14 million mothers and babies so far. Solar Solutionaries all over the US are learning solar STEM and how solar works in their own communities while also participating in global deployment through sponsorship. The solar industry has been like a rocket ship over the last 15 years with a 70 times growth factor. In 2010, just a few years before We Share Solar launched, solar power was a niche contributor to the energy mix, powering the equivalent of 460,000 homes. By 2024, solar power capacity could power 32 million homes, which is equivalent to all of the households in New York State and California combined. In 2024, 82% of all new electric generating capacity was solar and storage, No other energy source could touch it. This is why we believe that learning about solar and engaging locally wherever you can with students matters so much, in addition to the global impact. Globally, solar will be a leader in energy sourcing. While there are some political headwinds for sure, states differ dramatically in their support and funding of solar. We focus this program on solar-friendly states like California, Minnesota, and Illinois. Given its enormous advancement, solar is not going away, and it has never been more important than now to teach the next generation the science and the promise of solar in the energy mix as they face the future that awaits them. Our community of solar solutionaries is strong, and we are always growing. The majority of our programs are grant funded, and we are always looking for more opportunities. If you're interested in finding out more about ways to support us, please get in touch. We also accept individual donations on our website, www.wesharesolar.org. Are there any questions?
There certainly will be. Anna, what a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. We're going to open
Pleasure.
to everyone's questions here in just a minute. But what I'd like to do is have you stop sharing, and what we'll
Mhm.
initially do is just introduce the group of people who are on the recording. So
Great.
we have a good crowd. If your camera is on, then when I call your name, please wave. So we have a number of people who are part of our club who are joining us today. First of all, in Italy, Cecilia Babker. Good to have you, Cecilia. We have here in the Bay Area, Deacon Christopher. All right. Good to see you, Deacon Major. All right. We also have guests today. We have from our Rotary District, Maury Okamoto Kearney. Good to have you. We have friend of the club, Victoria Grishmuller in Hungary. Good to have you back, Victoria. And a buddy of mine from the ed tech world, we have Dallas Turner, who is the person who let me know about the wonderful program that we're getting to talk about today. So good to see you, Dallas. Anna, to get us started, let me just let everybody know how we go about these things. If you have a question and you want to put that in the chat, that's a signal to me to read it. If you have a question but would prefer that I ask it, then just write the question into the chat, and I'll know that that's my signal to do that. No problem at all. So let's start with the basic idea of getting students excited. I want to talk about a couple of different stakeholders that we've got, kind of working as a part of this. So we've got these students in the United States who are learning all kinds of things related to solar. They're doing it for a good cause. We've got people in other parts of the world. I believe you focus on Africa, though perhaps not limited to Africa. And so they are the recipients of these tools and everything, which is great. Is it the case that everything that happens with We Share Solar gets built here and is shipped to Africa, or is there more of a kind of ongoing plan in some way to build these things in Africa?
That's a very good question. So yes, we have done a program recently, which is something we'd wanted to do for a long time, and we had funding. It was a USAID funded program, so unfortunately the funding has now gone. But we finished just before the funding was removed, luckily, in South Sudan, where we had um, a youth that were recruited by our partners in South Sudan who built solar suitcases for deployment. The kits that students build in the US now are learning kits, so they're used to learn. They're not used to actually go on a wall and light a room. But we had students in South Sudan build the same kits that can be then installed in their communities. They did some workshops. They built some to install and some to keep to kind of keep to be used for further education for other youth. We also trained staff there to hopefully continue the education. But half of the kits that were built were then installed. Um, we work with a couple of different installation teams, and we have these women. It's an all female installation group from Kenya. They traveled to Juba in South Sudan. They ran the trainings. They did the building, and then they did apprenticeship program where they did the installations, which is pretty common. That's what they do. They'll go to a community, they'll do a training, and then they'll do installations. But in this case, they were installing suitcases that had been built by the local youth, and then were also providing opportunities for some of those youth who were selected to actually learn how to install the suitcases themselves. And then there have been a couple of cases, I think, where some of those students have then kind of been called upon to be kind of local experts to help. So if something's not working, they, in theory, are the best person to contact to try and work out, what might be going on. In terms of manufacturing, if that was kind of what you were thinking about, I'm not entirely sure. I am not too heavily involved on the manufacturing side of the program. Um, so yeah, I don't think I can answer that question. As far as I know at the moment, everything is manufactured in the US.
Okay, great. So understanding that difference between a deployment kit, which I love that there's a system in South Sudan for helping people learn those skills there, and I would imagine that there's a real possibility of having people develop kind of their maintenance skills as a
Hmm.
part of programs to help with communities anywhere that are beginning to deploy these kinds of things. One question that came up in the chat is about supporting the schools and clinics in Africa that are working to get these things in their buildings. Is there any kind of partnership arrangement so that if a group here, you can imagine a service group or church group, something like this, that we're connected to this clinic, we're connected to this school. Can we help them facilitate getting these kind of systems by supporting it in some way?
Yeah, so the healthcare side, which has deployed and installed many, many, many more suitcases than the education side has. They work actually through governments. So they make connections with the government in the country and then often the government in the county for, a huge country like Nigeria. They'll go county by county. The program they have right now is called Light Every Birth, and the goal is to they go kind of country by country and try and identify all the health centers where women are coming to give birth and find those that don't have reliable electricity and install solar suitcases there. So that's all done. It's very systematic and is done through the government. There are situations where individual organizations have kind of purchased these suitcases for installation, which is something that has happened. We try, because they're quite niche in terms of the installation and the skills needed to make sure that they're in the right place. We try to work through um, the installers that we have trained, and we actually train. I believe the healthcare side now kind of trains um, installers through government training, so everything's being integrated and is very systematized. On the healthcare side, the education side, we're smaller. We have fewer deployments. We work with a couple of different installation crews in Kenya and one in Uganda. So if there's someone who's interested in one of those countries, we often forward that information to them, and whenever they do installations, they try and make it as efficient as possible. So they'll go to one region. Like, for example, right now we have four women in Samburu, Kenya, and they're installing, I think, about 20 solar suitcases over the next 2 weeks. They do two a day. It's a whole day's work to install two solar suitcases in a school, and they will beforehand go and visit an area, find schools, and do it as close as possible. So the one trip that they make, they can, install in lots of schools at the same time. So yeah, so if there's a specific, sometimes we get requests, people say, oh, I know this school in Sierra Leone or this school in Tanzania. Can we get them a solar suitcase? We can share information and let you know some options, but generally we want to make sure that our systems are installed properly and are tracked within our tracking system so we know, we can follow up if anything goes wrong. So we generally are installing right now in Uganda and in Kenya.
So a whole host of questions related to kind of how it works on the ground. One of which is how do you track them?
How do we keep track of the solar suitcases?
Yes, and
Yeah,
whether they're continued work, whether what kind of
yeah.
needs they may have, things like that.
Yeah, it's difficult because a lot of these a lot of the places where they're installed are very remote. They don't necessarily have, they can't, necessarily send us an email. So every suitcase has a serial number, and our tracking it seems to be improving every year. Again, this is something I'm not that closely involved with, but I'll say as much as I can. So as the technology improves, there are new systems that I think have come inside on the healthcare where we can track we have better technology to track them. But currently, we know where they all are. They all have serial numbers. And what happens is our installation teams on the ground, they're the kind of the point of contact. So when they have finished installing a solar suitcase, they're in direct communication with, maybe the headmaster at the school. They know that they are the people to contact if something isn't working. And then every few years, there's a plan to kind of go to a region and do maybe battery replacements, for example. Um, so yeah, so there's kind of a chain of communication. There's information in the solar suitcase that, says who to contact if there are problems. And that is very important to us. We don't want to just kind of be giving equipment that works for a couple of months and then stops working and just sits there, because unfortunately that's something you see quite a lot of. So yeah, we're always kind of trying new and improved ways to track equipment. And I think over the next few years we'll probably see even more improved ways of doing that as the technology we have access to improves.
And Victoria asked how big the demand is. I mean, do you have like this long list of folks waiting for
Yeah.
deployments?
Yeah, I mean the demand is huge. The demand is huge for both the deployments and for the education.
Uh-huh.
When we do programs in the US, recruitment. Once the word gets out, it's not that difficult to get schools to sign up because they're interested um, in doing it. But when we do educational programs in Africa, I mean, everybody just wants more. They want longer trainings, they want more trainings, they want, we have like they're packed. The youth are really interested, the teachers are all really interested. So yes, the demand is high. We have and it's just really needed. So we have some suitcases in Kakuma refugee settlement in
Yes.
Kenya. And they have installed solar suitcases that are used to light schools, but we started working with them probably about 10 years ago, I think. And as the years have gone by, they have improved systems, bigger systems than we provide. What we provide is really very small. They have now microgrids. And I was just talking to somebody there last week, and he was telling me that the solar suitcases that they have for education have become really important because they run programs where they get younger, 16-year-olds interested in solar, that then funnels them into the solar vocational training that they have. Especially girls, they really focus on trying to get more girls into these programs, funnels them into the solar vocational training they have, and then some of those students then go on to take the local certification, which once they have kind of an entry level certificate, once they have that, they can actually perform maintenance on the systems in Kakuma. Whereas previously, if something broke, they have to call someone in Nairobi and it might take 3 days before someone would come and it would cost money. So building that local knowledge is also something that's really needed, and there's lots of interest for.
So in terms of those groups that support the effort, is there a particular kind of package that works? So if a service club wanted to sponsor, learning kits or deployment kits or anything like that, is there kind of a set level of financial contribution that helps make that happen at this point, or is there some other arrangement that allows people to partner with you?
Well, so at the moment, when we seek funding for a school program in the US, which is really kind of what we're focusing on um, in terms of searching for funding, because most funding is STEM funding is very people are very interested in funding STEM education right now in the US, which is great. So generally, the package that we offer when we're looking for funding is somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000. I don't know the exact number, for 10 solar suitcase learning kits that then go into a school and stay in a school, and they can be used year after year after year. So once a teacher has those, a class of 30 has, equipment that they can use. We have extensive curriculum that goes with the equipment. We recommend about a 2-week program, really, if teachers want to really understand all of the science that we kind of are giving them access to. And part of that cost goes towards a deployment sponsorship. So we don't generally, at the moment, when we're seeking funding, we're not saying we want money, we're asking for money to deploy solar suitcases, where it's all, everything's tied together. And then that school or that group of whoever's ended up with the equipment, they have this sponsorship, deployment sponsorship. So they receive um, information and a deployment report about the community where the suitcases have been deployed. So some information they can use in their classrooms to help students learn more about global energy access, and a video that has been made. I mean, the one have been showing this summer is just a couple of months old, of suitcases that were deployed to a refugee settlement in Uganda, Bidi refugee settlement. And that's all, yeah, so that's kind of the package. The equipment, the training. Generally, when we are seeking funding, it's for more than one school. It's for, 10 schools, 15 schools, 20 schools, and within that, and in a specific location. And as part of that, we do a 1.5-day training where the teachers learn how to build the suitcase, do all of the labs, and implement the curriculum in their schools.
All right. Speaking of having these things happen in a school, my friend Dallas, with whom I'm professionally connected, I wanted him to actually talk a little bit about
Yeah, great.
the program in his school. And so, Dallas, if you'd chime in.
Yeah, we last year was our first year of doing this, and I'm not the teacher in the classroom who does that. I have a teacher who works with me. I'm an instructional coach in the district here, which means that I just help teachers figure out how to do these things, and I find resources. So we've got our suitcases last year, went through the learning kits, and actually took middle school students, 6th grade through 8th grade, through the package. They really enjoyed it. And then we just got our video a couple of weeks ago that our solar suitcase was delivered to the Bidi refugee settlement. So the kids were just really excited about it. It's a great program to get kids knowledgeable about solar energy and about renewable energy as a whole package. But then it's also a really great opportunity for our kids to be thinking about what they could do with solar energy for themselves, and be able to find the possibility of a career there. It's in the teachers that I worked with absolutely loved being able to do it because, as Anna said, the curriculum is so well done. The instructions for the kits are so well done that she felt like she was absolutely prepared for it.
That's great to hear.
Very, very cool indeed. Dallas, thank you. So looking at the clock, I kind of see we're winding down on time. I'm going to hand it back to our speaker for a final word in just a minute. But I'm going to preview the conversation we're going to have after the recording because that's one of the benefits to being part of the group that joins with these speakers, is that after we finish the formal recording, we can keep talking afterwards. And Mari has asked some really good questions about different ways that this can become a for-profit effort, and to help empower Ugandan women to be able to get involved in these businesses, and where they get the raw materials. I'm excited for us to kind of jump into that discussion. But in recognition of everyone's time, I will also wind things down. Thank you very much for taking time to watch one of these stories. We believe that the stories that we share are the kind of stories that inspire us to understand that we are all people who can make a difference in the lives of others, and that opportunity that you have to be inspired by a great story turns around by you telling someone else, hey, I learned about this program that has kids in schools building solar, blah, 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 blah. And that whole momentum that comes from sharing a story in a powerful way is something that motivates us as part of our service mission as a Rotary Club. You can always find us. You can find our videos on our YouTube channel. You can find these stories as podcasts on your favorite podcasting system by doing a search on the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and either Inspiring People, which is our week-to-week program, or Inspiring Solutions, which is our our Best of program, or Inspiring Women, which is the new series that we launched this year and are excited about in terms of the kind of messages that that gives, especially to young girls all over the planet. As we always like to do, we hand it back to our speaker for the final word. So, Anna, what would you like for people to have in mind as they finish this podcast or video?
Well, actually, what I'm thinking is we've talked a lot about, students and deployment recipients, but the teachers really are our focus. We really focus on inspiring teachers so that they can inspire and educate the next generation of solar solutionaries. We really value the incredibly hard work that science teachers and STEM teachers do, and we're always working to get good quality equipment and curriculum into their hands and support them to do the amazing work that they're already doing. We just want to help them make it even more amazing.
Speaks to my educator heart. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week.